find your way to get involved here in the future and help us continue to make Auburn a very special place. All these individuals will be available for you outside in the lobby here in just a few minutes. Y'all have a great night and a great week, and God bless you. Thank you for being here.
Hey y'all, I'm Ann Randall. I'm the Urban Forestry Specialist for the City of Auburn, and I want to talk today a little bit about some of the native trees that we give out through the Tree Commission. One of the first ones I wanted to talk about is the tulip poplar. This is a 2-year-old seedling tulip poplar, so this is still a baby. It's got a very fine tip and bud that's easy to identify at the top. Now, this is a native tree, and it's going to be one of your big overstory trees. So we're talking about 80 feet tall when it's finally mature. And depending on your site, it might not get quite that tall, but this is going to be one of your big overstory trees. The way to identify a tulip poplar is it's going to go straight up. It doesn't have a lot of branching. It grows really tall and straight. This tree has a beautiful bloom. It's too high up to really take advantage of, but the pollinators like it, so it's important for pollinators. It also has a beautiful yellow fall color. It is a deciduous tree, so it's going to drop its leaves in the winter. And not a lot of mess. It does have a small cone. It's in the magnolia family, but other than that, just a good native tree if you have space for a tall tree in your yard. One of the ones that's been pretty popular in the last few years is our native fringe tree. So there's a native fringe and then a fringe tree from Asia. This is the native. It has a beautiful white blossom, very fragrant. This is also called Grancy Graybeard. You may have heard that from your grandparents, but beautiful white blossom, very good for our birds and our native pollinators. This is a shorter tree, so it's going to be about 20 to 30 feet tall at maturity. It loves sun, so that's an unusual thing about a shorter tree. Most of our shorter trees like to be in the shade, but this is a good one. It can be right out in the middle of your lawn. It's actually a much better tree for your lawn than a dogwood because this tree is going to tolerate those harsher conditions. This is another one that has beautiful yellow fall color. It's going to drop its leaves in the fall, so it is deciduous. And no messy fruit, just a beautiful white bloom in the spring. And this one, a little bit bigger than ones we normally give out, but we've been raising this for a few years. And this is a hop hornbeam. So this is a lovely native tree, not one of your really big ones. This is going to finish up about 30 to 40 feet tall. So it's a good smaller tree if you don't have a lot of space in your yard. What's neat about this tree is it has a flower that looks just like a hop, like you make beer with. So it's a really beautiful flower. It also produces a small nut, so it's really great for pollinators and other wildlife in your yard. This is another deciduous tree, so it's going to drop its leaves in the winter. Has a beautiful yellow fall color. Also kind of has an exfoliating bark when it gets a little bit bigger, so kind of an interesting landscape feature in the winter as well. And a nice shade tree, but not going to be massive in your lawn. This is a bare root redbud. So you see roots totally exposed. This is not planted in any container. A lot of the trees that we give out are bare root. So the only thing that's different about these is that you want to make sure you get them into the ground or into a pot basically immediately. They can't sit out. But redbud is a beautiful tree. It's a native species. It is one of the first trees you will see bloom in the spring. So if you look out in your neighbor's yard, you see these tiny little purple blooms all over a tree, that's your redbud. And the other way you can identify these is they have this zigzag pattern on their branches. It looks like a perfect zigzag. They have smooth bark. This is a smaller tree, not going to be very tall. It's going to finish at about 20 to 30 feet tall. And it is a native, but it likes those shadier conditions. So it can tolerate a little bit of sun, but it's going to do best if it's getting shade in the harshest times of day. But it can tolerate dry, can tolerate drought, so this is a great, good pollinator species as well. So bare root seedling, this is a white oak, which is one of our great native oaks that we have in this area. This is going to be a very tall, beautiful, mature tree. White oaks last forever, so this tree could easily last 100 or 200 years planted in the right place. This is the kind of tree that you don't plant for yourself, you plant for your children. It takes them a long time to grow. They're not fast growers, but they stay very strong. They don't drop limbs. This tree is going to have beautiful red fall color, and it also produces a nut, which is really important for wildlife. It is deciduous, so it's going to drop those leaves in the winter, And as it matures, it has a really beautiful flaky bark that is only found on a white oak. So it's a really beautiful tree, one of our great natives, and one of the best performing oaks in the Auburn area.
Citizen survey presentation. I'll turn this over to you, City Manager.
All right, this evening, well, 2 years ago, you had a presentation about the citizen survey that was just videoed. We were in the thick of COVID, and this time we have Jason Morato, who's joining us from ETC Institute. He's joining us via Zoom. This is a 15 to 20-minute presentation, and I didn't want him to have to travel here from Kansas City for such a short presentation. So he's going to go over everything. You'll be able to interact with him. He can't see you, but he can hear you. And so you'll be able to ask questions and interact as if he's in the room. Just a quick note, the survey, as I mentioned late last week, was nearing ready to go. We didn't have it quite finished for today. I anticipate it being ready tomorrow to distribute. I'll offer you both print versions and links to the website. And for the general public, this presentation is being recorded now and anybody can watch it, but we'll also edit it and put it on the Citizen Survey site just for this piece. So all that will be released. It is likely tomorrow. If it is not
Recording
tomorrow,
in progress.
well, there we go. Recording in progress. Greg is making sure, and we will be able to get this out very publicly this week. Perfect. So Jason, if you are ready.
Okay. Yep, I'm ready. My name is Jason Morato. I'm with the ETC Institute. And today I'm going to go through the results from the 2022 community survey that we just finished conducting for the city of Auburn. We most recently conducted your survey in 2020, right before the pandemic, in February of that year. And we first conducted your survey way back in 2006. So we've been doing this survey for many, many years now. So today I'm going to go through the most recent results of the survey. Just a little background about ETC Institute. We're based in Olathe, Kansas, which is in the Kansas City area, but we're a national leader in providing market research for local governments. We've been doing the type of work for 40 years, and in the last 10 years alone, we've conducted surveys in more than 900 communities all across the country. So this is really the type of work that we specialize in. This is just a quick rundown of what I'll go through today. I'll go over the purpose and methodology of the survey. What I call the bottom line up front are our main conclusions to the survey. And then I'll go through the major survey findings to show how we came to those conclusions. And I'll be happy to answer any questions as well. So there are several reasons to conduct a survey like this. One is to get an objective assessment of how satisfied Auburn residents are with major city services, and also to determine what residents feel are the top priorities for the community. We're also able to measure trends from the previous surveys. Most of these questions are the same ones that we asked last time in 2020. And some of these questions we've been asking every year going all the way back to 2006. And then we're also able to compare your results with other communities across the country. So this survey was administered by a combination of mail and online to randomly selected residents throughout the city. And that's our standard methodology for these surveys, is that mail online combination. Our goal was to receive at least 600 completed surveys. We had a very good response. We ended up with 685. And the results of those 685 surveys at the 95% level of confidence has a margin of error plus or minus 3.7%. So essentially that means that if we conducted this survey the same way 100 times, 95 times the results would be plus or minus 3.7.
evening or afternoon, we will call the June Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting to order at 4:30 p.m. Roll call.
Will Faulkner,
Here.
Mary Boyd,
Here.
Emmy Sorrells,
Here.
Letitia Smith,
Here.
Marty Heffron, Elizabeth Strain,
Here.
Malcolm Daly.
Before we move to the approval of minutes, we will need to call a supernumerary up today.
Will Faulkner,
Yes.
Mary Boyd,
Yes.
Emmy Sorrells,
Yes.
Letitia Smith.
Yes. Okay. All right, if we can get someone to place a motion to accept the meeting minutes from March 4th, 2026.
Move to approve.
I was not here, so.
Can I get a second?
I second the motion.
Will Faulkner,
Yes.
Mary Boyd,
Yes.
Emmy Sorrells,
Yes.
Letitia Smith,
Yes.
Elizabeth Strain.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I will open the meeting with my chairman's opening remarks. Any persons aggrieved by any decision of the board made within 15 days after such decision appeal to the circuit court having jurisdiction according to section 908.02 of the zoning ordinance of the city of Auburn, Alabama. The board consists of 5 regular members and 2 supernumeraries. The supernumeraries participate in all discussions but only vote when necessary to assure 4 voting members and have a board consisting of 5 members when possible. All decisions are made with a roll call vote, and a concurring vote of 4 members is required to approve an application for a variance. All regular members and supernumeraries in attendance can participate in the discussion, but only the regular members can vote unless called upon by the chair to vote. With that said, we will move to our first and only case for the day, which is BZ 2026-007.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is a request for 2 variances. One is to the maximum ISR ratio, or the impervious surface ratio. The allowance is 35% on the lot, and the applicant is requesting a variance to allow 36%. And the second is a variance to the rear setback requirement of 20 feet to allow a rear setback of 8 feet and 4 inches. The subject property is located at oh goodness. What happened? Here we go. 203 Bridgewater Boulevard. It's at the corner of Bridgewater Boulevard and Touring Lane. It's approximately 11,000 square feet and is in the Cary Creek subdivision. This is a site plan for the existing single-family residence on the lot. A CO was issued for this home in November of '21. And at the time it was constructed, it was in compliance with ISR and the setback requirements. After the construction and the CO, a 19 by 16 concrete patio was added at the rear of the home. And it did not require a permit because it was under 30 inches tall, which does allow it to also extend up to 5 feet to the property line. The addition of the concrete patio pushed the ISR over the maximum allowed, so the variance would allow the additional 304 square foot patio to remain on the lot. This shows the proposed, where the concrete patio is and where the applicant proposes to construct a patio to cover, or a porch to cover that patio. Like I mentioned, the concrete slab is permitted to extend up to 5 feet to the property line, but with the addition of the porch, it is required to follow the setback requirement, which is 20 feet. And in this instance, it would be 8 feet and 4 inches to the property line. And that is just an overview of the variances, and I can answer any questions you might have.
I do have a question. So when I read in what you just stated in the discussion, so we state sometime after the initial construction. So what does that mean? So does that mean, was there an additional owner? Do we not know when it was constructed, or?
I'm not sure.
We're not sure. Is it the same owner? So
I
was
believe
it an
that
ownership change?
this is the second owner.
Second owner. Okay. So just for clarification, so when an unknown change is made where they actually added this patio and then we exceeded the ISR requirement, does that make it legally non-conforming?
It is non-conforming,
Okay.
not legally
Not
at this
legally.
time.
Yeah, and so I
It was
guess,
confusing when I was reading.
yeah,
this
so normally if we, like, I guess like on commercial projects and we discover something like that, they're forced to rip it out. Same thing on residential projects too.
Okay.
So that's kind of one of those things like where we end up a plan gets submitted, then we discover something, then they're forced to come into compliance kind of for all future permits. And so it's not like if someone would have called about it or anything. It's just kind of, it's not, and also this isn't a catalyst for us to make people get permits for this. It's just kind of the process. So we would force somebody to rip this out. That is how this would go. And it's not all of it, but enough of it to be compliant.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions from anyone else?
Well, I guess I did just kind of want to stress kind of, I guess kind of there's the two variances. So there's the one for the ISR stuff, just kind of with the patio, and then I guess do we have like another exhibit associated with this? Another one? No. Yeah. So I guess there's kind of several things with this. So there's provisions in the ordinance just kind of less than 30 inches, not really applicable to it, really fine. And I guess kind of this is one of the things that we went back and forth about initially. I mean, kind of looking at the buildable area here, this, if it went on the other side of the house, that'd be fine from a structure standpoint. But I think also just kind of with the flow of the house, it doesn't work that way. But the reason that this doesn't fall under it's not a deck, it's not a floating patio. It is cedar, kind of like attached to the house, like a really big, almost like an addition, even though it's covering over a deck portion. I think one of the things just kind of that I wanted to stress just kind of like through the staff report. So the ISR, is just kind of one thing. But from the structure side of things, the variance would mean that, someone, if they wanted to extend all of the house, expand the house entirely, not just the covered patio, or should the house burn down or anything, the entire house would be able to go up to 8 feet. And just something to think about that. This just isn't for, a covered patio kind of deal. And then just kind of reiterated some of the things just kind of in the staff report, the character of the house, character of the neighborhood, all those things. Setbacks do drive that. And I think especially, like I said, this is one of the things of kind of like when I was asking, I know we were kind of working through it. Like I said, it's not a floating deck. Like if it was a floating deck, we wouldn't be here. It is and I guess kind of how the house sits, kind of the back of the house. And I wonder if the applicant probably has pictures of it. So there's a deck that sits off the ground, that's enclosed now that they have, and then they have this steps down to like this patio area, and then they're covering it. And so, but it's kind of on the plane with the rest of the house. So it's like I said, it's a very large structure, what we're talking about. Like initially, I thought we were talking about something else before I got clarity. But just kind of just kind of from a harmony standpoint, all those other things. I think kind of the biggest thing to really just kind of focus on, this is really, I would say, not anything like where the ordinance changed or anything. Like when this got built, these were the setbacks. They were compliant. People building things without a permit. Like I said, it's not like anything nefarious was done. It just kind of happened. Probably something that the contractor should have been aware of, was not, or just ignored. Like I said, and that happens. But like if we did find it, we would make them rip it out. just kind of from our standpoint of this, nothing real unique here. I think on, I know it's really odd, like, you know, like people desire corner lots, and then corner lots kind of have these issues, like, you know, where different setbacks, greater setbacks, kind of both on the side streets, kind of deal. Like I said, I think the thing to just really be aware of is that if this house were to ever go away and then be replaced, it would be all the way up to the 8 feet. Like I said, so just something to be aware of. And I guess from staff's perspective, in addition to like a perfectly functioning house, no hardship, no disaster, anything happened. Like I said, from our position, no hardship would be.
Justice, would that 8 feet be just on that one side where we're allowing, or does it?
No, it would just, yeah, so it would be, I guess let me read what the variance is to. If it's to the rear setback or just to the setback.
Is this the rear, that the house is oriented to face Bridgewater Drive, or does it face Turing?
Yeah, so, yeah, it faces Bridgewater.
So that's the rear of the house. And
Yep.
so I'm going to assume lot 5 and 4 are both built on as well, correct?
Yep.
Okay, also on our plat, it says current, but technically that's not true. This is what was presented to get there. Okay, so current does not show the.
Yeah, and so this was so for a lot of these, like I said, property owners don't oftentimes they don't get as built. They'll have like what they can get their hands on, and so oftentimes when we see site plans like this. Like I said, I think the thing, like if they have the visual of it, they can show it. But yeah, it's a large, like I said, they're covering it, and I think kind of the history of it, just kind of in the department, was kind of talking to inspections. If you attach it. Because like I know like one of the things that we always run into is like, well, if they just detach this from the house, would this be a problem? And I guess here it wouldn't. So I think the big thing here, even though this isn't like an enclosed structure that's heated and cooled, the manner of which they're attaching to the house and the size of it, like I said, makes it, like, it's always been treated as a part of the house and has had to comply to setbacks. So that was a conversation that I've had with inspections, because I said, I think initially just kind of we were having conversations about it. We were really looking at a way that we could just kind of make this work, but it doesn't. And so, and I think kind of that was one of the things that, like, when we were talking about it, inspections was very adamant of like they wanted to make sure that I understood, you know, where they were coming from on it from a historic standpoint.
Also, okay, you did say there's a deck, and then this patio is attached to the deck.
Yeah, so how the house is, there's an enclosed deck. Yeah. There's
Exactly where this house is.
yeah, so if you see like the grade square kind of on the bottom right of the house, that is like an enclosed kind of deck area that they already have. And then the addition of the patio steps down to that, like there's like steps.
You like go up the deck and then you go down.
Right. That's how it is.
So, let me just, I'm smiling as you're speaking because you're giving all this explanation, so I thought it was just me when I was reading this packet, because I found it to be confusing. And I actually went out and searched and tried to see the house to see if I could see the back, so I could see what it was that we were gonna be discussing, and I didn't see it, so I'm hoping that if the applicant is here to have a picture.
Yeah, and I
that
guess,
they can share with us, but it seemed like it was a lot of extra information in the packet, so I want to make sure you're trying to get us to harmonize. So the thing that we're focusing on the most is the cover.
Yeah, so
Right? Because
yeah. It's
all the
the
other stuff, ISR, it is what it is.
yeah, like I said, I guess y'all.
Require variance.
Yeah, that does require a variance. But like I said, like if it were any other project, it'd be caught in DRT. We'd make them change it. If it were we were doing something else and we found that it was non-compliant and they were doing something else, they'd have to rip it out.
Okay.
So
All right, thank you.
So if we don't give them the variance, would they technically have to rip it up back to where it would be compliant?
yeah, I mean it'd probably be something that inspections would handle. Yeah, they probably have to. They probably make them figure it out.
Any more questions for the staff? Okay. We'll open it up to the public hearing. Is the applicant here?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm going to be speaking on behalf of
Okay.
Mr. Randall Pinkston. This is his home.
That's fine. Did you sign in? If not, just make sure. Okay,
Sorry.
no problem.
Yes, so I do have a
What's your
picture.
name?
Adam.
Hey, Adam.
Nice. Thank you guys for taking the time this afternoon. I do have a picture,
Okay.
a rough rendering of how the porch is going to be kind of constructed on top of the concrete patio. He does have an existing deck on the back side of the house, but it's inside of a nook, so it's a very small deck, and it's currently screened in. So it's hard to fit grills in there and have a whole family inside of there, and it's, that is the reasoning you come down from the deck onto this big, nice stamped concrete patio on the back of the home. Currently on the back of the home is his outdoor kitchen, table, stuff like that. He is on the corner lot, no trees. Blazing hot, bugs, rain. So they're looking to put something coming off the side. We're not doing an A-frame. We're not doing a big heating and cooling. We're just coming off the side with nice hardy trim to match the aesthetics of the home. It's going to be mounted on top of that retaining wall on the right side. I'm going to go ahead and hand this to you guys. If you'd like to see it.
I guess if you could, I guess so I have a visual of it. I'll put it somewhere where you can pull it 7 and
Okay. But yes, we're just looking for a space to get out of the sun, get out of the rain, make some more memories in with his family. The deck's very small, and I would like to note all surrounding neighbors and the HOA are on board. So that'll be all. Thank you guys very much.
We were just pulling it up. So are we waiting on you, Justin, to pull? Okay.
There are photos on the MLS that 3 of the 5 of us could pull up and see it.
So Adam, once the pictures come back up, we may have some more questions for you.
Yeah, just give me a second, so I'm going to save it. You're in the PCA, okay.
And I know the applicant stated that all the neighbors were on board. Did we receive any communication on this officially?
We did have one neighbor call in, but they really didn't express for or against.
Okay, just curious.
It was just wanted to know what was going on.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so it should be, I guess I put it in the case file, so if you go to, that's in the,
I can see photographs just
yeah,
because
all
I
right,
have
yeah,
realtor access.
so if you go back to the,
Yeah.
to where you were, like the packets for this one, it'll be in there.
So there is a poured concrete patio that does,
Rendering.
you can see it's quite far. I mean, it's, so this is what's proposed to, oh,
See it now.
It's coming.
There we go. Yeah, and so this was the rendering that they sent over. And so as you see, like this is to the left is like the enclosed patio nook thing that they're talking about. Is the enclosed deck nook that they're talking about. And then, yeah, so then this is the structure that they're talking about, kind of the outdoor kitchen and all that other stuff.
because the drawing proposes a knee wall addition.
But this is a
Yeah, so this is, yeah. So this is just kind of like an AR rendering of like, so it's not fully accurate.
Yeah,
But
ChatGPT can only go so far sometimes.
It looks real.
So are there dimensions of this that you are allowed to do?
yeah, so pretty much kind of like it just wouldn't be able to go all the way to the full portion of the house, like to the full portion of the edge of the concrete. And so, like, if they were to do like a gazebo of some sort, that was separate from it. Like I said, kind of, I know, like we get in here, like we talk about, like I guess all these nuances of the code. But I feel like whenever we work on like commercial or like non-residential projects or like the bigger things, like these are the things that come up. And like I said, these are the things that we push in DRT, and then like it does impact the design of things. That's why guys don't normally call us beforehand. So there would be like an alternative. It just wouldn't be connected to the house. It's kind of, like I said, and I know that's always one of the theme of the discussions here, since connecting it to the house then applies like ascribes different setbacks to it versus when you detach it from the house.
If it's detached, it would have to then be 10 feet from the house.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I might be the only one that's still so confused. So, I know this is a rendering, so are we saying that there's nothing here and it's just a deck, or is there still this piece that we said was after the construction?
No, the only thing was just the poured,
It's just the stamped concrete okay, that's there, okay. All right. Okay, any questions for the applicant?
So if they did the detached covering, would that be in compliance with the code if it was just detached and it covered this concrete
They
pad?
can't do it.
No.
House.
Yeah.
And that would this concrete pad, I guess,
Is
is
attached
5
to the
feet.
house.
Yeah.
Right. And so I guess kind of it would have been something where they probably just would have had a separate area that would have been further. And I guess kind of like driving by it, they got like a fence. It's like pretty tight back there. But yeah, so it would have been designed completely differently.
So if I was to break the two variances into two, 1 and 2.
Cool.
So without a variance, I need to remove a portion of this to be in compliance.
That is correct. And so we do that, like I said, guys, oftentimes, like, I know it looks cool, like the driveways that are split, they got grass in the middle. Oftentimes those guys are trying to meet ISR stuff. Yeah, or like, like the cool pervious pavers and all those things. Like those are the tricks that those guys use. And I said it's very common throughout town that guys do that.
they're done a flagstone patio.
Yeah. Yep.
I agree with you. I think I don't want to see them have to rip this up, and I think probably what they were trying very hard to stay in compliance, they're 1% over ISR. So I think, can we separate those and like approve a variance so that they don't have to tear up this patio and?
Yeah. So these are two variances.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not, you don't have to separate them. They're already separate. So just consider them separately. So I guess there's the ISR variance and there's ISR, and then there's the covered patio variance.
Okay. And we have looked at every other possible alternative for getting them a covered space, and it's just not possible.
I guess I don't know that to be true. I guess this is just kind of one of the things I say. Oftentimes, like with residential, they'll come to us with like, hey, here's what we want to build, and then it's like, well, have you thought about these other things? And it's just like, we're trying to build this.
Okay.
So.
Any other questions?
Let me ask. Yes, I would not be here. I assure you.
You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Randall Pinkston. I am the owner.
Okay.
I would not be here if it was any other option, and I didn't even want to go through this process. A couple of years ago, like I said, I retired here a couple of years ago and bought the house, and probably didn't think through. But I'd still bought the house, love where we live. But I tell you all that just say I wouldn't be here if there was another option. We even talked about a gazebo, and actually it's a worst case scenario because you have to be away from the house. So it is, it's just a small lot. It is what it is. I get that, but again, and I understand we have rules and regulations for a reason. I get all that, but I was hoping from only reason I'm here is to say, hey, this is, we always, when it's us or when you're involved, you think it's an exception, right? When it's not, it's not. But that's, would ask for the consideration. But yes, we've looked to answer your question ultimately at every other tried.
And you did not pour the pad?
No,
that was already there when you purchased the home?
That was
okay.
here. We've done some landscaping and stuff in that yard,
Okay.
tremendous amount of landscaping. All the landscaping you see in the yard's done. And we had a drainage issue. We fixed that due to the, but that, to answer your question, no, it was there.
Yeah, it is, it's some tricky topography over there. I absolutely know that for sure. Actually, there's a house for sale right across the street from ours, and I showed it, so it
Oh,
has a
okay.
crazy yard. That's neither here nor there, but I do understand that there's some issues with some of those lots over there, but, I know. I wish we could do everything we want to, but yeah, rules,
So,
rules.
Okay. If there are no more questions, we'll close the public hearing and open for board discussion.
I just want to,
I'm sorry.
if I could, just,
Yes.
as Justice was mentioning, just
Okay.
keep in mind in your deliberation, if you pass this variance, the variance would run with land. So if this house, is destroyed and they had to rebuild it, those variances would apply to what gets built
Right.
in the future. So just want to mention that, and a reminder, as Justice has already said.
Certainly hope that doesn't happen.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any discussion?
I don't see, a unique hardship, for the second variance. It's unfortunate, but I don't see any kind of unique hardship as far as attaching this to the house and covering the whole pad.
Yeah, it's a very large patio. I'm inclined to go ahead and pass the variance for the 1% for the ISR, just so that he can keep the existing patio, but the 11 feet, I'm getting stuck on that. I feel like there are possibly other options, or he could just do something a little bit different. The zoning ordinance allows it for uncovered decks of no more than 30 height to extend 5 feet from the property line, but when you add the covering. So it says the current patio does not require a variance to the rear setback requirement. So we're not talking about setbacks, that's just an ISR requirement. So we can, okay.
Yep.
So I'm inclined to say, let's deal with the first variance and then,
A second.
and, yeah.
So would we have separate discussions, or would we take them separately, just so we can?
Yeah, so two separate motions.
I have a motion to approve the first variance of BZ 2026007.
I'll second.
Will Faulkner,
Yes.
Mary Boyd,
Yes.
Emmy Sorrells,
Yes.
Letitia Smith,
Yes.
Elizabeth Strain.
Yes.
Approved.
Okay, thank you. We'll open back up for discussion for variance number 2. All right, so I feel like we've had some discussions. I mean, while it's beautiful, I'm thinking about the work that I did in my own backyard to be able to have those family gatherings, but I was very conscious of, I'm on the BZA. I need to be able to do this without having to request a variance. And so we had to try to come up with the most a reasonable use to get what I need. So I just think that this is a very large variance that is being requested to do this. Very nice, but I'm thinking that there may be some other options. That's just
I agree.
my opinion.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see a way around, just because we're bound to A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Right?
And I don't see that this variance meets in any of the requirements.
Hardships.
Not a hardship, obviously no special privileges, unique circumstances. I mean, I
Okay.
appreciate wanting to use that, but yeah. Okay, so I'll make a motion for the second part of this, the variance of 11 feet 8 inches to the required 20-foot setback on BZ 2026007. Motion to approve.
Second.
Will Faulkner,
No.
Mary Boyd,
No.
Emmy Sorrells,
No.
Letitia Smith,
No?
Elizabeth Strain.
No.
Failed.
So we don't have any other business to take care of, but is there anything you have for us?
Yeah, I guess we can talk after this. I guess
Okay.
because I know you mentioned possible training, but yeah, we can talk about that. And I don't think we have. I think there might be another pending case or two, but we haven't gotten any applications yet. So just people inquiring about them, kind of some similar stuff.
Okay,
Garages.
all right. So you will follow up with us?
I will.
Yeah,
I
so the
will.
request was just so that we can, we have a lot of new members, so we just want to do just a quick training refresher about the role of the BCA and, you know, how we are to evaluate these variances when they come across. So that was the one that I requested, so hopefully we'll be able to find some time, maybe about an hour to an hour and a half, maybe at lunch one day, we could do a training if that works for everyone's schedule. All right. I don't have anything else, and if there is nothing else, we will adjourn this meeting at 5:00 p.m.